Those of you who've watched my channel will know that I use a fair bit of a product called Lino Soft or soft linoleum. I'm using this material, which is made for printmaking, and it's really easy to carve by hand, and it allows you to pull a pretty nice hand print using just a baren and the back of your hand or a spoon without the use of a press. And most of the artwork that I'm doing is actually created without a press, so I love this material, but I do use traditional lino too. And this is where the different carving tools come in. The carving tools that I use mostly for the soft linoleum are a product made by Speedball, and they come with a handle. The tools themselves, actually, the blades come separately, or you can buy it as a kit. And these are interchangeable blades, so you can use different kinds of blades for carving. You can use a V-tool or a U-gouge, and these particular nibs or blades go off and on the handle. Now, I traditionally use a number of handles. I've just found that they're really inexpensive to buy, and I don't like having to take the blades off and on all the time. So I keep all my different blades on, and as I'm carving, I'll just pick up one or the other at a time. The really nice thing about these Speedball carving tools is that they are inexpensive, first of all. So you can get a wide range of blades available. I keep a number of different blades on hand, just handy for whatever use I'm going to be doing in the design. And the blades themselves run from a couple bucks a piece to just, you know, really, if you buy them in a kit, you can get the whole kit, a handle and several blades to start with for about $20 Canadian. So it's a really reasonable way to start lino carving. And the blades aren't really manufactured to be sharpened. So once they start to dull, or you find you're not getting a really crisp, clean line, you just remove the blade, recycle it, and put in a new one. My favorite blades are, I use typically 2 V-tools and 2 U-gouges. So the V-tools that I use is a 1V and a 2V. The 1V is very, very tiny, as you'll see in this photo. The 2V is a little bit more detail, whereas the U-gouges are for taking out a lot of detail in one pass. As you can see in this particular Blue Jay print, the last block has quite a bit of detailed lines. The U-gouge was used to remove lots of material in areas where you want to take a whole bunch out, whereas the V-tools would have been used in making line work, or the really tiny little ones here would be used by the 1V tool. So just depending on the type of line work that you want will determine the blade that you use. Now, as I mentioned, there are different tools that can be used for traditional lino, and the traditional lino is that's a little bit harder. It's usually it comes unmounted, or you can also buy it mounted on an MDF board as well for carving. And the traditional lino is great to work with as well. The Speedball tools will work with it, but what I really find works super good with that is almost a wood carving palm tool, or these are traditionally used for lino cuts too. And these are a little bit better made. The steel of the blade is hardier and actually just cuts better through a harder linoleum like that. One thing about these beautiful palm tools, and they are gorgeous, is that they are more expensive. And I'll put some details in the show notes for the video that talk about places you can get them. But they are more traditionally, they might run you $100 for a set, $20 to $30 to $40 for each one. That's Canadian, depending on which one you buy. The other nice thing about these particular tools is that you can sharpen them. So when they start to dull, you can sharpen them yourself. That's a whole other video, and I'm sure there's lots of great information online you can get about how to sharpen these palm tools. This particular lino block was used, carved using the hand tools, and you can see that the detail is really wonderful. I use typically the V tool and the U-gouge, same as the other material, to carve it out, and it works really well as well. Another little tip when you're carving the harder linoleum is that it helps a great deal to soften the linoleum before you carve it. And one of the things that I do to actually soften it is you can use a hair dryer. This is just a little travel dryer that I use, keep it in the studio, but it's tiny, and you blow that over, the hot air over the lino, and it softens the surface of it, and then you carve. So what you'll find as you carve, it'll start to cool, so you have to do that over and over, but I find that to be very helpful. The other thing that I've used before, it's really nice, is a hot plate, and this came from my mom. She used to use it for keeping things warm at the table, and you basically take this and lie it on top face down, so the lino down once it's heated up, and it gives you a nice warm surface all the way across the lino. I've done that with this piece too, where you just lie the whole thing on for 30 seconds or so. You can feel it. It doesn't have to be burning hot to touch. In fact, that's better if it isn't. But it will soften your linoleum as you carve, and it's just a really handy tool to use as a little tip to soften your linoleum before carving.